So what does that tell me? That tells me that when we got to this max point, we had a regression of the ratio of Litecoin to Bitcoin, and Litecoin explodes.
Cryptoslo, cryptocurrency news and investing.
Cryptoslo with more crypto gains. What's going on, guys? Litecoins. Don't forget about Bitcoin's little baby brother. Let's get into it. The question is Litecoin a sleeping giant? Well, we're going to dig into the data today and look at it and see what I think. I'll give you my opinion on Litecoins. So, Litecoins. A little history first. They had their massive run, and basically at the end of 17, start of 18, peaking out like close to $400 a coin. As you know, Litecoins were a fork of Bitcoin. Original, I think, was a 4-to-1 ratio. So that's an important thing to talk about, and that's trading ratios on Bitcoin versus Litecoin. But looking at the graph, you can see when it mooned, we had those bands just explode open. Currently, we have a narrowing of the bands, trading sideways, squeezing Litecoins. Now, they have had a little run, but not much, and you'll see that as I get farther into the data. Looking at the MACD oscillation on the all-time, we're squeezed right to that line. What does that mean? That means it's either gonna go dump or it's gonna have a massive explosion upwards. 1334, you can see you got the confirmation, the crossover on the all, and then we had the dump, and then we had the pump, we had the dump, and we've stayed below that 1334 on the all scale. Looking at the 1 year, you can see Litecoins just, up and down, up and down. So the 1334 is not showing a lot on the smaller time scales, because Litecoins had mooned up a little bit earlier this year, but then they fell back down. Now, let's get into deeper data. So what I've done is I've pulled all the historical data of Litecoin closes and Bitcoin closes, and what that produces is a trading ratio. So as we travel through time, the ratio of Litecoin to Bitcoin close is all over the place, okay? Literally, that ratio just trades up and down, and it kind of oscillates. So let's bust a graph on this. So you can see Bitcoin, Litecoin close, that the ratio, well, this is a price graph actually. Let me rewind that a little bit. Let's just do this, the ratio. So here is the Bitcoin to Litecoin ratio. So you can see based on price, this is based on price, that it tends, the ratio slips, which is bad in a sense, because the higher the ratio, that means it's losing sats versus Bitcoin, okay? But then when it regresses, you have a price explosion. So we have the loss and then the regression. We have this epic loss, okay? Ratio topping out at 321, and then pulled way back, okay? Moon, back up again, back down again, up again, down again. So every time it goes down, it's typically a good thing, because Litecoins are gaining sats against Bitcoin, okay? So looking back at our chart, scrolling through, as you can see, moving up, 100, it's increasing, still increasing. So what does this mean? That means that overall, Litecoins in their current status are sliding against Bitcoin, okay? They're not keeping up the ratios. We have impermanent loss where the two are trading in a different direction. Now, a more interesting graph, pivot to LTC. What I've done is I've taken the average ratio with the max of the LTC close, and then I threw this on a graph. Now, what does this graph say? I know it's kind of complicated here. This graph says a few things here. So basically, the orange is the max of the LTC close for that month, okay? And the blue is the average ratio, okay? So what can you see happening? So here was 17, and you can see this. Boom! Super explosion, okay? So max of LTC close is price. So this is dollars over here on the left. So you can see what happened. Litecoins lost sats, lost sats, lost sats, lost sats, and then ba-blam, they blew away, and the ratio dropped into the 50s-ish. Okay, got a ratio of 50 to 1 on Litecoin to Bitcoin, and this was the moon. Okay, this was the moon. Now, what is this blue chart looking like? Okay, what is it? What is it looking like? Well, it tells you a couple things. These blue lines in succession are the average ratio of Bitcoin to Litecoin. This is similar to the run 15 all the way to 17, okay? With a maxed out ratio of, this is the average ratio, 277. We're currently sitting at a max ratio of 254. So, what does this tell me? This tells me that we are close to the historic highest average of Litecoin to Bitcoin, okay? And see what happened after we hit this max average, okay? Litecoins exploded, okay? Exploded, okay? Because it just tends to run in these where Litecoin loses its ratio, then blam, moon. Lose the ratio. Litecoins didn't do too bad. You know, later in 19 they had a little run, and then you can see, you know, just not a lot of action. But statistically, this is the point of this video, and that is that Litecoins are trading near the high average, lifetime average of ratio of Bitcoin to Litecoin. So what does that tell me? That tells me that when we got to this max point, we had a regression of the ratio of Litecoin to Bitcoin, and Litecoin explodes, okay? Litecoin explodes. There was tons of time to make profit here. I remember when this happened and it was going up, and on Coinbase it went to like 400. So what does this tell me? This tells me probabilistically, unless we continue to lose, okay, and we go over this ratio, okay, that Litecoins have a probabilistic chance of exploding in price. And this ratio would regress as it's done in the past when BTC mooned. So remember, this is during the BTC moon point. So this ratio can only regress so far. So what am I going to do in the move into moving and monitoring this? I'm going to monitor this ratio very closely. And you ask, how do you get that ratio? I just simply go to CoinMarketCap, and I pull the LTC close and the Bitcoin close, okay? And then that's how I'm creating my ratios. But one thing's for sure, what I would monitor this for is a sudden drop, okay? A sudden drop, because you see right here, and then it dropped, boom, and Litecoins, like, they doubled, went from, let's see what that series is, $6.98 to 15. So it 3x'd on the regression, okay? 3x'd. So what am I expecting? With probability, I would say that if we see this ratio drop very quickly, you will see a very accelerated price rise in litecoins. So I'm definitely going to bone up on my litecoins and have a bag of them, because when they go hard, and they moon pretty solid. So definitely, with that being said, I'm liking litecoins. I'm going to continue to monitor this. I'm definitely in accumulation mode right now as this value slips against Bitcoin. So hope you liked today's video. As always, like, subscribe. This is Crypto Slow. If you're not talking gains, then we're not talking.